moralism, traditional collective activity, traditional communal morality, which we'll get into in a second. And basically the idea is the weakness of communal activity, communal morality, is that the individual particular needs and demands are sacrificed for the expense, for the advancement of collective desire, collective action, collective morality, right? So typically what happens is an individual, here's the community, and the community wants X. Here are individuals. And this person wants A, this person wants B, this person wants C. Person A recognizes that in order for me to get A, it's going to be really, really hard. I want X, but I also want A. I want B, but I also want X. I want C, but I also want X. So what you do is you join the community and you sacrifice what you want so that we all now want X. And then once X is attained, then community leaders say, okay, now we'll do A. And then once A is attained, then they say, now we'll do B. And then once B is attained, they say, now we'll do C. And this is traditionally how it works. And this is what I was initially looking for in my experience with the occupation movement. Okay, we recognize that lots of you want X, Y, and Z, but what we're going to do collectively is we're going to go after this one thing now that we've mobilized so many people. That has for millennia been the most effective means of doing it. It runs the risk, however, of not addressing the individual needs of individual participants. And as Nietzsche says in 315, it's very, very important that you guys recognize this. It means that they should begin to resemble one another in their needs and demands. They should begin, this is a direct quote, that they should begin to resemble one another in their means and demands. Begin to resemble means, excuse me, that desires change. My desires change to resemble one another. And then what ends up happening is as desires, as telos is satisfied, new ends, new goals are posited. And those goals are traditionally brought up from, sort of collective vote majority. What's the next thing that we're going to attack? This is a very effective method, right? This is not to be trifled with. This is a very effective method of communal organization, communal activity. There does have to be sacrifices that are made. For Nietzsche, however, he recognizes these sacrifices as being a template of mandating conformity. You are going to conform to the desires of the herd. You are going to conform to the desires of the organizers. Your concerns, your individual needs are irrelevant because we organizers, we leaders have chosen of our own accord that we're going to pursue X. You're either with us or you're against us. If you're not with us, not only won't you get X, but you won't get what it is that you want. If you're with us, you will get X. And after we get X, we'll turn our attention to your needs then, and so on. But this perpetual deferment of needs and desires becomes inherently problematic in addressing the individual needs, the individual concerns of people, which is why I personally, I'm detached from society for the most part. My social interaction is virtual interaction. A lot of that was challenged by my experience with the occupation because it was just so non-traditional. Right? It was just so non-traditional. Okay, so the suggestion, the implicit suggestion here is that ceasing to be distinct, right, a loss of individuality, ceasing to be distinct is a means to perishing, right? He says that more clearly that they should perish. Why? They, the class, the race, the group. Why are they perishing? Why are they decaying from within? Because they cease to lose that flavor, that mode of distinction. In the African American community, African American vernacular is very distinct. African American modes of dress, very distinct. African American modes of greeting, very distinct. African American music, hip-hop music, was very distinct. But it becomes homogenized, it becomes mainstream. And later I'll talk about what Pippo said with respect to homogenization and the role of hegemony as popularity. I think that was just like, it was a genius comment, but I'm gonna defer that till later. The idea is that which identifies you strengthens you. And insofar as you enter into this communal collective forum, you weaken literally the self at the expense of strengthening the community. So you have to keep that in mind. There has to be a sense in which the identity of the individual is preserved communally. Much later in the discourse, we'll see what Nietzsche attempts to do in order to conceptualize that. But I really think that if the occupation movement is going to really get stuff done, really make change, it's going to have to start reading Nietzsche, right? You're going to have to really understand the role of communal morality and communal identity. Otherwise, it's like any other movement, which will suffer and weaken by the very nature of the attempt to sacrifice personal desire and needs for collective desire and needs. Okay, so hopefully that's clear. Next, strong qualities of a race are characterized as evils because they threaten the process of homogenizing the social order. Right? I wrote that, but that's that's good, right? Strong qualities of a race are characterized as evils because they threaten the process of homogenizing the social order. The idea is that the individual, if we're going to talk now about social order, the idea of order is maintained through the process. Order becomes the consequence. The antecedent becomes the process of homogenizing, right? The process of, as Pippo said, he was talking with reference to fame, but it was just so absolutely, and I love his presentation style. It was just so, it was so reflective. It was great to watch him. I've watched the video like 3 or 4 times. The idea of homogenizing, it's a seduction, right? I am an arm of the institution, right? I am as an educator, I am an arm of the institution. I legitimize the institution. So you should be very, very, very careful in just how much of these lectures that you sort of incorporate and swallow. You should be very critical. Again, in Pippo's video, he was talking and he was in the zone, and he says something like, he has the book up, but he was thinking of the book, the Nietzsche text as the Bible, and he was like, yeah, this book was 2,000-3,000 years old, I mean, whatever. And then he realized that he had the Nietzsche text in his hand. He was like, oh, we should be critical of Nietzsche too, right? I just thought that was just pure genius. I'm so glad that he caught that on film. You should be critical of me, right? There is a reason why I'm doing this. There's a reason why I've selected the text that I've selected on my YouTube channel. There's a reason that I'm putting all this stuff out there, right? Don't just swallow what I say, because then all my community of viewers just become homogenized, right? And insofar as they become homogenized, obviously this isn't my intent, I wouldn't be telling this if it was, but insofar as all my viewers become homogenized, right, there is a sense in which I can control the population, right? Order is a consequence of homogenization. Homogenization is the process which allows me to arrive at a state of order, right? So, H-O-M-O-G-E, sorry. Homogeneity is the antecedent. It is the precursor, if you will, to order, right? But then you need something, and I'm not going to go through